Hi there. It's been a while. Last time I think it was Holy Week. Now it's long after Pentecost. Same year, 2026. It's a more relaxed time between the two semesters here down under. And I just returned from a late afternoon walk. And while I was walking, I remember something from the same years, my seminary years. That was 1983 to 1988. Just to place the events in the historical setting. The last years of the communist dictatorship in Romania. As I said a while ago, those were very rich years for me. 5 years of theological high school, after year 10 in the public system, and a boarding school. That was the seminary at the time, 5 years after year 10. Anyway, I think I mentioned this last time I told you this story. The fact that those were really blessed years. It is during those years that well, I turned, or I began to begin someone else. And there was a wonderful library there that was very helpful. Plus the uh, atmosphere of prayer and all that service. Yeah. And during those years, I met Ottilia. Yeah. As they say in Australia, teenage sweethearts. Anyway, but what I remember from those years was an inscription on one of the painted walls of the seminary. So it was an old building, classical style, whatever, and uh, during the years of Patriarch Justinian of blessed memory, the seminar was restored, and on the ground floor, all the uh, corridors, the halls, or the walkways, whatever, were painted in iconography, mainly biblical scenes, if memory serves. So, illustrations of passages from the scriptures, but also saints. Don't remember quite exactly, so long ago. Uh, but one of the things that I realized in my early days in the seminary, so 1983 or so, was that there was, scribbled, some graffiti on one of those painted biblical scenes, if memory serves. There was this strange word which didn't sound like anything. And the way I read it, it was Nelumile. And I kept repeating this Nelumile, so profound, Nelumile. You can divide it into ne, which is in Romanian a negation, no, and lumile, that's an articulated plural of lume, which means world. So imagine this, my mind went towards the stratosphere. Nelumile, the unworlds. What would that mean? What does that mean? That was my question. For some reason, I have never asked anybody what was the meaning of that word. I just, walked by, uh, looked at the scribbling, which was, I repeat, a defacing of the iconography. Nelumile. Yeah, well, I think at the time I made some association um, with the dictatorship. Could be. Those horrible years, you know. I was in my late teenage years. You know, I realized the immensity of the drama that the Romanians experienced under the dictator Ceausescu, and I thought, well, whoever did this, scribbled this word, strange word, uh, must have taken a stand against, this tragedy, the unfolding tragedy that we live in a non-world. It's not well made. By the way, the word lume in Romanian world comes from the Latin lumen, which means light. It's a particularity of Romanian, of my language, which shows a certain sensitivity towards the order, the beauty, the meaningfulness of the world. The world is lume, light. Its bright, is permeated by uh, God's providence. It's full of meaning. Uh, it's charming. It's a nice place to be. Nelumile was the opposite. It was the unmaking of the world. That was in my the unworlds, because that's a plural. Nelumile. Yeah, I didn't think of taking a photo. Well, anyway, there were no mobiles with cameras inbuilt at the time, and I think I was so poor. Well, I know I was so very poor during those years that I didn't afford buying the usual classical camera. Um, yeah, so I had never taken a shot of that scribbling, Nelumile. Uh, and so I lived for many years with this, well, a few years anyway, uh, with this idea in my mind and going through those holes and uh, thinking of Nelumile, the unmaking of the world under the duress of a dictatorship. And then one day, towards the end of my seminary years, together with some colleagues, I think we were tasked to do some cleaning in one of the unused rooms. Uh, it was a huge one, if memory serves. It was something that could have served as a classroom, but it was occupied by all sorts of dusty objects, including huge, well, they were like paintings, well, or frames, with previous generations of students, graduates. And it happened that I stumbled on one from, I don't know, 1970s or so. Uh, and there you have it. In one of the photos, there's a fellow whose name is Nelu Mile. So it's not Nelumile, the unworlds. It was the signature of the artist himself. Nelu Mile. Nelu being a popular kind of um, endearing way of referring to someone whose actual name is Ion or Iwan, John. Ion, Ionelule, the way, mothers would, call on their offspring by that name. Nelule, Nelu. So, Nelumile. The guy simply scribbled his name on that painting. And I thought all those years that that was such a profound word. Nelumile, the unworlds, unmade worlds, ruined dreams, ruined lives, and so on and so forth. Yeah, this is for some reason what I remember today while walking on the beach and contemplating the beauty of the world. Luma. It's the world, God's creation is beautiful. Regardless of how much pain there is there, the rhythms of nature, like the recent horrible double earthquake in Venezuela, where so many lives were lost. But that's nature, it's part of it. The fact that we live in places where we aren't supposed to be, as it happens most times, for instance, in Australia, along the great rivers in this eastern side of the continent. Yeah, we've lost the wisdom of the ancestral guardians of this land, the First Nations, and we built our towns and cities uh, on flooded plains. Very smart. This doesn't take away from the gravity, the seriousness of the tragedy experienced by the Venezuelans. I'm just pointing out the fact that regardless of how much pain there is there in the world is still lume. That's what I was thinking of. Maybe the Venezuelans and others stricken by poverty or aggression or oppression, or God knows what else, yeah, are thinking in terms of Nelumile, in terms of the unmaking of their worlds. But the world is still Lume. God's creation is bright, beautiful. We just need to learn how to live in this world respectfully. So that's the story for today. So the memory was triggered not only by seeing the beauty of God's creation, lume, beauty, light, but also by yeah, this recent tragedy, which should be fresh in our minds and hearts. What happened in Venezuela with that horrible earthquake, double earthquake. Yeah. And this was where my mind went. Nelumile versus Lume. The unmaking of our worlds and the fact that we still live in the world, God's creation. And there's hope and there's meaningful stuff that we experience, meaningfulness of our lives. Anyway, that's that for now. Take care.